Hey everybody, this is Anara Griffin, and I'm here with the New Earth Visionaries. And each session that we do, we're going to cover different parts of what it looks like to really build. Sally Shakti didn't like the word empire, but I think empire is a very old word. That's why I like it. I don't mean British Empire. I mean more like when tribal domains were created and they had different flavors, and we are getting your flavor out there from the perspective of copywriting. I'm the strategist, and Bev is the funnel maker and also Facebook ad woman, genius. And so, really, we wanted to talk today about metrics, which is could be considered a rather dry topic, but not with us. Not with us. And it's something that I think you guys really need to understand with your numbers. And so the overall picture, before I get into it, is just that you will arrive on the scene with a certain, oop, there goes Bev. I think she got swallowed into family. That Charlotte was opening the door. She'll be back. Metrics is that you will arrive with certain numbers. You may have zero numbers, right? And the numbers, what are they? It will be the list size that you have. It will be, do you have any followers? It will be, do you have any social media activity? Do you have any history, her story, in the making? And that's the beginning of metrics where we can start to measure what is a likely outcome. And so I'll hand this over straight over to Sally Shakti to speak into.
Thanks, Anara. I'm going to mention Empire first of all, and we did have a brief conversation about the Empress in Tarot, who signifies going within and doing the inner work. So that is one extra layer of meaning that I think we can bring out into the work that we're doing with clients to really support you to go in and do your inner work and support your clients to go in and do their inner work. It's a whole process of initiation and transformation, and that's really key to how you will move your business forward and speak to your people. So when we're talking about metrics, and Bev will have a lot to say about this, but from a marketing and copywriting perspective, as Anara said, your sales conversions ultimately will depend on how many people are on your list, or possibly are your followers on social media. So we can talk about conversion rates and numbers, but to introduce the topic, when you start you start your business, and the first priority is to grow your list. It's to reach out, to form connections and grow community, and add value, give value, create value to people so that you can nurture them through the process of getting to know you, getting to like you, getting to trust you, and being receptive and responsive to what you do. The more people you have in that pool, in your community, then the more sales you are likely to ultimately generate. So I'll let Bev speak to that point first.
Thanks, Sally. Yeah, so regarding metrics, as Sally Shakti said, the sales that you get ultimately depends on how many people actually seeing your offer. So if, let's say, for example, you build this amazing funnel, but no one is coming in, it would be hard to actually create the sales. And as we all know, not everyone that's going to see your offer are going to buy. So you need to get as many people as you can inside your funnel, inside your your system. And in order to do that is, yes, to provide value. People need to be able to like and trust you first before they eventually buy from you. So it is very important to know what are your current numbers, how many email lists, how many email lists you have, how many followers you have on your social media, and how often do they see you. And when you keep giving value to your potential clients, it would be easier for you to eventually sell them something that you'd like to offer. um, you know not just a one-off purchase, but because you build that relationship with them, it could be like a long term relationship with all these clients that you have.
And I will say that one of the things that people don't really get about being an entrepreneur and a digital nomad. So I started this years ago. If I really look at how long ago I started, I think it's probably about 9 years, 10 years now of this particular phase of my business. And in doing so, what I did was I hired a coach. So I worked with Shanda Sumter and I worked in Pace, and it was all about building lists. Up until then, I had not really taken my newsletter seriously. I thought, do people really need to, read a newsletter when they could just see my beautiful face on Facebook? It's so easy and all of that. And Shanda was one of the first people who, of the many coaches I've had, she was the one person who really spoke into an old school relationship space. And I really believe this. So thank you, Shanda. Honor to you, a wise one. She said that if you build a relationship where there are people who follow you weekly and you actually give some content in the way of, like, they have to actually read it. It's not this quick, thing with Instagram or something where it's just, ooh, pretty picture, glittery object. It's actually got a level of depth to it. And if you start with that assumption that there's something about you having to read something, you having to stay on a page for a little while, you've got their attention, and you've got their attention. So then there's messaging, which is a whole other topic that we're going to speak about as well. But the message, you can start to see which messages and which headlines actually get more response, and you can see that in whatever mail system you have. So for many years I used Infusionsoft, and I think they're brilliant, but they were almost too big for me. But they had everything, the campaigns, the figures, the tagging. Before MailChimp did tagging, I was on with Infusionsoft. So every email that went out, and let's say I did a series of masterclasses, I would tag those people to see exactly where the interest came from. And then we started to build up a back-end business, which showed me who was interested in what of the themes, and it was surprising what of the themes of mine were really working. And then we started to accumulate over time a very serious list. Now, there's a whole bunch of lists which will unsubscribe continuously. So you're losing numbers all the time. You should be. You want to divide the audience to dogs, kids, and cats. We love them. That's Sally Shakti looking after two dogs. You don't want to keep everybody. You don't want to retain them. And then you want to go through your list as well, and you want to cull it. So, and I mean cull it. So recently, to give you an example, I had a list which was 6,500. I culled it down to 1,350. It's already back up to 1,600 because I'm continuously relating to people in a different way. But newbies or babies along the path will freak out at that thought that you would give up a list. And maybe we could speak about that piece, just that piece of the build, because Bev nodded in agreement, and I know you really believe that. Get rid of them. Get rid of some of them.
Yes, I love unsubscribers. Because the thing is, you think of it in two different ways. First way is that these people, they unsubscribe because they're not your audience. They don't like what you're saying. They're never gonna relate to you. So don't cry over those, unsubscribers. And the other thing is on the side of business, whenever you have like a mailing system, mailing software, you pay by the number of either emails you send or the number of people in your list. So why would you pay for someone who would never buy from you? That's the reason why they unsubscribe. That's the reason why they don't open your emails, right? Of course, you have to do your best for them to open your emails, but the moment they unsubscribe, well, that you just filtered more people out of your funnel that is never going to buy from you. Like for me, I have a separate list for my other, for my coaching, and I send newsletter every week. And it's scheduled actually every Tuesday at 10 a.m. UK time. So what I do is the next day, Wednesday, I would open the analytics of my email and see how many people unsubscribe. And whoever unsubscribed, immediately I delete them on my list because they don't need me. They don't want to hear from me. So why would I keep bothering them? Why would I, like waste my energy mulling about the number of app subscribers that I have? Like I said, you're just filtering people that would resonate with you, right? If they resonate with your messaging, they'll stay with you. And eventually, even if they don't buy now, they'll buy later on. So it is important that we have that mindset that not because they're unsubscribing, that means you suck or whatever, right? Your messaging doesn't relate. It's just they don't resonate with you. So yeah, I like people that unsubscribe because then I get to filter more the kind of people I'm more likely to build, a better relationship with, not just as a client, but people that I give value to. Because that's the important thing about newsletter. Your newsletter has to be something that is of value to them. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and so I would like to speak about that. Thanks, Bev. And you can learn a lot, as you know, as Anara and Bev were both saying, you can learn a lot about your business and your audience, what is working, and sometimes that might be a surprise. So you look at your metrics to see which emails have been opened. What is the percentage open rate for those emails? You might find that's surprising. You can find out the open rate, the click-through rate, and then if you're doing an offer, you actually can find out the conversion rate, how many people have bought a product or an offer from that email campaign. So there are loads of different ways I want to go with this now. Let's go back to what I was going to say in the beginning. One of the things that you can test that on is your subject line. You can try different subject lines for different segments of your audience or different aspects of your messaging, and see which ones get a bigger response. There's a way of, this is starting to get a bit more technical, and you'll probably have a VA to support you with this, but you can do split testing. You can send half of your audience one subject line and half of your audience another subject line, and find out which ones are most appropriate for your audience. So there are lots of different ways that you can test into that. If you're starting with a relatively small list, and we've been speaking about the unsubscribers, those are the ones that are not your ideal client avatar. They are not resonating with your messaging. And the more true to yourself and the more authentic your messaging is in your email communication, the more you will bring in and attract the frequency of the right people who are resonating with that messaging. If you are trying to, as I know a lot of business owners do when they first get started, speak to everyone, and when I say to them, who is your ideal client, they're, oh, well, everyone can benefit from this. We really need to narrow it down as much as possible. So there are two aspects to that. In fact, that's probably going to speak into messaging. So let's just go straight back into metrics. Making sure that you have the right people on your list is about letting the people go who aren't willing to be there or aren't ready to be there, and keeping on being present, especially on social media and other funnels, other channels, to bring people in. So you might have an opt-in on your webpage that gets people onto your list. So it's not just about building the list once and then letting people go. It's about that continuous turnover of how you maintain a healthy list that ultimately does grow, but it has a healthy turnover as well. So the kinds of metrics that you're checking with that is like I said, not just unsubscribes, but open rates, click-through rates, and conversion rates, and maybe that's somewhere we can go next with this.
Yeah, and I'd like to bring the piece of like the evolution of a business, the evolution of messaging, the evolution of your full expression as you're developing. So when I first started building a list, I was actually also running a yoga festival, and I'd been a yoga teacher for 100 years, like many, many, many years. And so there was a whole thing that went on about yoga within it. And so the people, when I talk about culling, were not even unsubscribed. They weren't. They just were inactive. They didn't do anything with all of the spiritual business work that I evolved into. So I went from I had a very large list with the yoga festival because, of course, people were interested in that topic and that aspect of what I do. And for some of you, you will stay on the same track. For me, not at all. I've done this in my journey and also on my path. And so every time I come up with a new expression, what I want to see is I want people to actually leave me. I don't believe in retaining your audience at all. And I also believe that your avatar, if you really get clear on avatar, so this is like, who are you speaking to? Splitting the list, splitting the topic, being opinionated, having very strong stands will split the list always. It'll get people like, yes, I'm with you, or no, I'm not with you. And you want that. You don't want to be a placid, wishy-washy, sending stuff out to an audience that is not even opening, not reading, doing nothing with it, right? So the evolution is really part of the journey. And when you begin, like I know a lot of American coaches because I've been in that world for a very long time. They tend not to do anything visual. That's an observation. And some people have that opinion because they wanted it to occur like it's a letter coming personally from you. Well, we know it definitely isn't a letter coming personally from you. It's like definitely some form of sales, right? And the more salesy and the less interesting it is in terms of visuals, I just turn off those. So I myself then need to go and unsubscribe from some of these things, right? Rather than just dangling around. It's like sharpening, honing. The whole thing is honing your skill of where are you in the market? Who are your audience? Who's the conversation that you're having with? And very early on, I started bringing in a lot of visuals to really, because I'm such a visual person. I was a photographer for 20 years. So it's like, why not use those aspects? And now I see people actually I relate to, and the metrics go up if I get the message out, and we'll go back to messaging in a different topic, but with the right visuals as well. So it's not just a words game. It's not just a numbers game. You have to know who you're speaking to. And the more that you could even articulate who that person is, like define them, give them a name, give them an age range, maybe give them an identity. Who are you actually speaking to? And hone your audience towards that kind of thing that you're eventually selling. Now, along the way, of course, you cannot just sell. It's tedious. You need to get people to trust you. But I'll go back to something that Shanda said about list building, which was just, I think, very brilliant. She was actually taken on by some of these top guys like, I'm trying to think, Dean Graziosi, from some of these other guys who were like, oh, come on, list building is so old hat. And she said, and this was way before COVID, if you have something that you have developed a relationship with over time with your message, and you have that list and you own it, then if anything happens in the market, you can still sell to your list directly and you'll have a business going. And I think that's absolutely true. So list build, when you start your business, is one of the first things you should consider doing. List build, and then opt-in pages and opt-in links to get on your list, always giving people the option to join your mailing list throughout. So always building. Yeah, go, both of you, jump.
Sorry, yeah. I just wanted to add, because you mentioned a very important point in there now regarding the importance of your list building. So in social media, in Facebook in particular, regardless of how many followers you have, so this is based on the study that they've done. Facebook, a report that Facebook has released itself. I don't have the link right now with me. The average number of people that see your post is about 3 to 5% only. So even if you have 1,000 followers, even if you have 1 million followers, about 3 to 5% are the number of people that sees your post. And as we all know, social media, it's all fast, and like, people just keep scrolling, so you are competing with the attention of your followers, right? So why is having your list very important? It's because the email goes directly to their inbox. Like, yes, I do, I do agree with you, Anara. There are a lot of a lot of people out there that saying, oh, you don't have to build your list, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that. But no, the emails are the things that you own. You own them. Okay, not literally like you own their email address, but you know what I mean, like you can market to them, you can communicate with them anytime you want. You can send a newsletter, you can send a promotion. And the other thing is, you own it because it's just depend on you on how many emails you want to send to them and when do you want to send to them, right? But your social media, your Facebook, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your YouTube, that always depends on the third party, which is, the owner of the social media, like Mark Zuckerberg and the likes. If Mark Zuckerberg decide to block your account, your 1 million followers, even if you have 1 million followers, are gone, right? But with your email list, you have it. Even if you move it to one email software to another, it's still with you. As long as they have allowed you to, to communicate with them, they're yours. And unless they unsubscribe and tell you, I don't want to hear from you, they're still yours. But Facebook followers, Instagram followers, they are very important. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't build your followers, right? They are very important, but at the end of the day, you don't control your social media followers. I mean, your account on those social media accounts. It can get blocked. It happened to me before. My social media was just blocked. My advertising account was stopped. I couldn't post or anything. So yeah, it's always good to have your own list. It's an asset for your business, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, so the algorithms can change, or there's so many different factors that you're not in control of with your social media. Social media is great for fast building of a community, and getting offers out fast, doing your promotion, reaching a lot of people. But you do want to be bringing those people onto your list, so you want to give them an opportunity to, in whatever way, sign up for your list, whether that's because they're going to download a free meditation, or they're going to sign up for your list in some other way. You want to be moving that traffic from your social media into your email list, so that you're building your email list, because that is the group that you're really nurturing for the long term. And that is more of a slower build. It's more of a long-term relationship building. And that's what's really, really beautiful about it, is that those relationships can form on a much deeper level. You will build a lot more trust with people who are in a longer term relationship with you through, as well through, as Inara said, reading, engaging with longer form content. Those people have invested more in you over time, of their own time and their own energy, and they're also then going to be the people who are more likely to invest some money with you at some point as well. So email is a longer relationship builder, but it's much more healthy because it's rooted, it's grounded, and it cultivates a deeper relationship and a stronger relationship of trust. What I wanted to say about metrics as well in relation to that, it's really interesting, Bev, that you mentioned that on your social media following, especially nowadays because of the way that the algorithms work, you mentioned that only 3 to 5% of your followers will see any given post. Well, on your email metrics, an average open rate across all industries in general is about 20%. So if you're getting, and even that, that might sound low, but if you're getting 20% of your followers opening your emails, then you've already got more engagement on your emails than you have on social media. And there are ways of increasing that metric, especially if you do have a smaller list that is very well nurtured and very well personalized. You can increase your open rate. But in general, an open rate is about 20%. And typically that tends to then progress towards a click-through rate, I would say, of about probably 2 to 3%, Bev.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, about 2 to 3% click-through rate from your open rate. So that's already, you're already way ahead the social media algorithms, right? Because
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
actually
and
getting
then
interested compared to just seeing it.
So, I mean,
yeah,
let's
so
bring
continue.
customer expectation. Let's just give some examples. I might need a calculator with me actually to do this example. Bev, do you have a calculator with you by any chance?
I have my file. I actually have a file where I do this.
Right.
Yeah. So
So,
let me find it somewhere.
let's say you've arrived into your world of I'm going live and all of that kind of thing. Typically, I will meet people who come into our zone who might have literally 75 to 120 people on their email list. And the first thing I will say to them is go ask every single connection, friend, anybody who if you have not actually included them, then go start there. Start where you start, right? Start where you start. You've got to start somewhere. There's nothing wrong in that. And so people who have not had a business for long, it's very typical. Now let's look at the rates that you would expect to sell on a list of 120. Just so people get this. So let's say you send out your best email, you've done your best, it's gonna be the one. And then you want to sell them into some wonderful program that you've done. What would you say about that, Bev, with
Okay.
120 on
So
your list?
120 total subscribers, is that
Total
right?
subscribers on the
And
list.
how many of them open your email?
You tell me.
So
If
let's
we
say,
just do an average of 20%.
Yeah, do
so
an average of 20.
what's 20% of what? So times-
I'm trying to
so it's
work it out in my head.
24.
Well, if I
You're
would have
right,
to move, there's a
24.
chair, a cat, and lots of things blocking me in right now. You can't see, but cats and chairs are here.
So let's say you have 120 total subscribers, 24 of them opened your email, and out of that 24, let's say like 10 of them clicks on it, and out of that 10, okay, what, two bots? 2%?
Yeah,
2%.
honestly, I think probably one or two would buy
Yeah,
from a
one or
list that
two.
size.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how much was this? For example, it's 1,000, whatever you're selling is $1,000 or
Yeah.
pounds, 1,000 pounds. So you have 20% open rate, you have 8% click to rate. It's quite high actually.
Yeah.
And click to open is 41%. So you get total revenue of, of 2,000 pounds. And your spend on your email is just merely what? The monthly, the
Yeah, it
monthly
would be like the monthly subscription
the
to
monthly
whatever system
subscription
you
of,
have,
yeah, of
but
whatever
all the
system.
work perhaps as well in hours. This is what's never recorded is the number of hours an entrepreneur works outside team just to build the business to a level. So
Yes.
you're starting to see how like people's expectations who come to us and they're like, well, you now we're at professional level and you're the professionals and you're going to get us out there. And we're like, this is the reality that you're looking at. You're going to sell to 1 to 2 people on average right now.
Yes.
So let's say we expand that. So let's look at the list that I just got rid of. My 6,500 list.
Yeah.
Now, I could come to somebody like me and say, I've got a list of 6,500. It's a big list or it's a substantial list. What I haven't taken into account is who I haven't called. So I would have a different kind of expectation if I came to us. And let's run that through and see what happens with my expectation on that, Bev. So I've got a list of 6,500.
6,500, 1,300 open, so that's 20%. And out of that 20%, let's say just 5% click-through rates. And out of that, you've got, say, purchase. Okay, so I hope I can show you the number. So if 6,500 in your list, 1,300 of them open, which is 20%. And I just put it on a very low, okay, just 1% click rate with 65 clicks. It's very low. By the way, you can double this amount. You can double this or even triple it. And out of that 65, you have 6 sales with 1,000 pounds revenue. The sales conversion is 9%, and your campaign ROI is 61.85 is to 1. It means every £1 you're making 61 pounds.
Okay.
So it's still, if you see this number, because it's higher now, and still we're conservative with the number of clicks and also with the number of sales. It's just a very low number of sales as well. You're still getting good campaign ROI comparing to just really doing it on your organic social media, or even especially when you start paying for the ads.
So 1 to 65. So if I was selling a product, which I have done for 15,000 before, I could expect, what could I expect if I was speaking to you?
1,500 per.
No, 15,000 per program, which I've sold before. If they're the right target audience, what could I expect with that
You could
list?
expect a total revenue of 9,000 pounds, which is a 9.23% sales conversion.
No, if it's a 15,000 pound offer,
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect 9,000 because it's less than the actual program. 15,000 is what each
Oh,
individual,
15,000. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
15,000.
Oh,
I just want, yeah,
1,500. 90,000. Sorry,
yeah,
that's
15,000.
90,000. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's 90,000. And that is, wow, that's
90,000.
the campaign ROI of 924.
Yeah. So you can see, and that is not unfamiliar to me to sell things at that price when I'm working with very individual coaching and whatever I'm doing, taking somebody quantum. But you think, where am I selling this? All I'm doing is working my list and giving people opportunities to call me and trust me and get to know me and see my style. Then look at what I can generate. If I had a successful, dare we say, example of Black Friday sales on a high ticket offer, I could sit here, send out an email, and I could be starting to look at 90,000 profit, right? It's pretty incredible. So list size metrics, to end on this topic, because we want to now go into a totally different topic on a different video. It's crucial that you start to understand the value of it, and also about who's in the list, and start to get into this mindset where you are going to split the audience all the time. And then we can go into a whole piece on messaging, and that'll be a natural segue into the next video. Is that a good place to stop, or do you want to say something else, either of you guys?
Yeah. I just wanted to make one final point, which is to reiterate that it's the long-term metrics that count as well. And we will get into this in messaging, but just in terms of metrics, if you suddenly do a promotional blast to your email list that haven't heard from you in months or years, then your metrics are likely to be much lower. It's the long-term metrics. I've recently been working with a client who emails her list twice a week. And she has a list of, she had a starting list of 8,000. She's emailing them twice a week. And then when she did, first of all, a list build into a second promotion, she was still getting the open rates, the sort of average open rates of 20%, but the sales coming through that were phenomenal because they were a well-nurtured list with consistent metrics. So yeah, and then we can get into how you do that in messaging.
Great. So we will return with another topic, and thank you so much. And we'll end it here. And anybody who wants to get in touch with us, again, just to reiterate that, even to have a general conversation, all of that up the front end of our business is always free. It's always meant to be like, so we need to get to know you, and you need to get to know us. It's a choice both ways, but none of the front end is like pay to get to know us at all. We need to see the structure. We need to have all of this understanding in place and say what you can expect. So that means like call us, call me. I'm usually the one who speaks. So see you later.